Yep. Yep. So can anyone hear me? Hey, just type something in the comments if you can, because I'm trying to go through some technical difficulties right now, and I just want to know if I can be heard. Ashley, can you hear me? So I'm trying to figure this thing out. Okay. Can you see me? Move. Am I moving? Can you see me move around? Because my screen isn't doing the same thing over here. So it's kind of weird seeing myself frozen. Um, let's see here. Let everybody get in and see what's going on. Okay, great. Like my screen is frozen over here for whatever reason. I guess it'll catch up. But I'm glad you guys are tuned in. I'm gonna try to do this as best I can with a frozen screen. Um, so let's just let the beat build up a little bit. Hey, what did y'all eat today? Leave it in the comments, man. Let's talk about that. Because we're gonna talk plenty of business, plenty of great things coming, and I want to know how y'all doing. You know, so what's up? Talk to me. It might be a bit of a delay, so if I sit here and look awkward, at least I could talk in the meantime. You know, to make things pass by a little bit better. So, what do you got for me? And I'm really, really disturbed at my screen being frozen. How does the layout look? Does anyone like it? So, well, for those of you that follow me on Facebook and whatever other social media platform, you already know my name. For those that don't, my name is Victor Vinciant, and I go by Code Talk in this situation. But this time around, it's a little bit bigger deal than all of us together. This is Urban Power Connections, and we are um, actively in the investment community for property with equity, off market real estate, and just doing our best to build up, our surrounding areas all up and down the I-35 corridor. Not limited to outside of Texas. But this is where we got our start, and this is where we're going to plant our flag and where we're going to grow. So, before we get started, you can check the caption for a lot of the information that's in there that we're going to discuss, so you can kind of follow along. Main things first this year for 2020 is the buy the block initiative. Um, it's no longer a hashtag. We're moving. We're making things happen. And shout out to my friend Kavita Harry, who just chimed in and tagged someone. Hey, everybody that's in the comments, do me a favor and tag somebody that you think would be interested in what we're about to discuss here. I appreciate everybody's tolerance and willingness to participate after sliding your DMs for like the last 2 weeks, trying to make things real. I also appreciate the fact that I'm held in the regard I'm held in amongst the people that I care most about, and I'm glad that you guys can see that I'm tied to something very serious, and I'm a part of it, and you can be a part of it too, and have just as much equity as I do, in seeing the community develop. So, how many people we got over here? Let's see. All right, so I'm just gonna get to it, because people can rewind and catch up, because we got a lot to talk about. So I started off. We're gonna talk about the Buy Back the Block initiative and what is crowdfunding. The links to completing the first steps to joining the UPC, are in a link, containing a link that's in the caption also. And then I try to drum up some questions, and answers to questions that I know are coming, so we can kind of talk about the end item goal here, because the metrics and how it gets accomplished, that's kind of been that this ain't kind of been worked out. It is worked out. There's an education associated with this type of investing that I don't want to use too much of that language to scare off somebody that might be on the fence. But and we want everybody to participate, and there's going to be different areas where people are going to have a little bit more or less understanding. But that's why we're in the nature of we're in the lane of community building, and that first starts with property and ownership, so we can have a different dialogue than what we've been accustomed to. So check those Q&As out, and see if there's any other things that you'd like to add. If there's some questions that you'd like to present, hold them towards the end, because I'm going to be monitoring the feed as it comes up, and I don't want to miss your question. So at some point, I'm going to open the floor to doing so. Even if you just leave your questions in the comments, we'll definitely go back and scrub the comments, break down the questions, and you guys are really going to help us build our frequently asked questions list for our website, which is due to go live towards the end of the month. Let's see here. What else is in here? Up next for UPC, agenda-wise, we got a block party coming on 21 March, and it's a ribbon cutting at 1402 North 2nd Street for a sixplex that we renovated recently. You'll see a flyer about that as I start going through the slides. And Calvin Richardson is going to finish off that day for us at the E Center. Let's see here. And I got a new book that I published last week called The Business of Me. And for those of you who've, like I said, followed me before on social media, you guys probably already know about my book, The Code. And this is the kind of like the personal prequel to the first book. The Business of Me is a very introspective read about my own journey towards becoming who I am, and creating my own problem-solving mechanisms for mental sanity, pretty much. So it's available on Amazon via ebook and paperback. So I left the code in there so you can kind of see which angles I'm coming at on this. So we're going to talk about Airbnb and the gem that short-term rentals has become, and provides landlords with another option of maintaining their property with less liability and more overhead cover, with Airbnb having $1 million in insurance, faster return on your investment, and less liability for maintenance, wear, and tear. Without further ado, let's get to it. So one of the first questions people ask is crowdfunding. They hear us doing it, and they want to know more about it. They want to understand it and how it fits into the structure of what we're up to as far as like UPC is concerned. So in this situation, we absolutely have what it takes to be qualified by a lending institution. We can go get the money that we need to do whatever project we want to do. But we feel like it's more of a community effort if we create a vehicle, an investment vehicle, that allows people that live in that community where we plan to do development to buy in. You don't even have to live in the community to buy in, but it makes it that much more grassroots at the effort, So we give them a chance by creating this vehicle, this investment vehicle, where they can contribute by up to 100 shares. And as our portfolio improves with property acquisitions, mostly off-market real estate with a lot of equity, in that process we wind up getting older properties or dilapidated properties, rehabbing them, improving the equity in the community, as well as making sure that the home increases in value, which gives us more leverage when we go to institutions to do follow-on projects or expand whatever efforts that we already have that are ongoing. So the crowdfunding model is most associated with people that have used GoFundMe, contributed, or know someone that has. So this is no different. And instead of using GoFundMe to to compensate someone for tragedy, we want to use a similar model in crowdfunding for community rehabilitation. We know that private institutions uh, come with a lot of red tape, and they can be a little bit more restrictive. But if we give the community a chance to buy in, everyone gets their goals accomplished, and meanwhile you're creating a changing culture. And I didn't put it on the slide, but culture is very important in terms of helping grow black community and things of that nature. Um, any community for that, but where our personal responsibilities lie in the process, that's on us. We gotta figure that out. And the cliches of we no longer, well, black people don't work together, that's a cliche only repeated by black people who don't work with other black people. This initiative has been began and ran from top to bottom by people that look like me, who are all about community integration in terms of effort. If you live in the community, we want to create a way that you have say in that community as well. What a lot of people don't understand by renting, that they don't generate any tax revenue, so the community doesn't improve. You can't compel uh, people to hear your voice the right way to do anything that sparks change that makes the community look better. By having an investment vehicle that has actual equity in the community that causes tax revenue to go up, we have more of a say, so we can bring a louder voice to the discussion and actually affect some change. We're trying to not we're trying we are transitioning from being reactive to proactive, and that's all about how you're structured and how you postured. This gives us UPC is that vehicle that gives us the structure and posture to to carry the right conversation in the right room for the right outcomes. Okay, so one of the number one questions is going to be, where do I join UPC? If you already bought in by this time, if you look at the link, you can pretty much read the caption and where I put the information, and you submit your form, and we'll take it from there. For those of you that have already contacted me and we've already had an exchange of resources, I got you. You know what I'm saying? So mark my word, saying it on camera, not that I need to, but I want to put it out there. All right, so for the people that need to be sold a little bit more and need to, because I'm not trying to sell you anything, but who need more information to make an informed decision. Number one question is, what does my investment with UPC get me? Um, so some of the answers I got drummed up here start with the numbered text that pretty much answers the top five most times. So number one starts there. You know what I'm saying? $100 a share is 8% return on investment, and it's subject to increase. Okay. Let's see. The next thing is, well, how long are you gonna hold my money? In general. So the current hold is 20. I'm sorry, 12 months. We went to a year, and that's just a recent change. And during this period of 12 months, you cannot get your money back. So that's not to say that someone's taking your money. It's just that the money's already working for the organization at this point. So we have to hold it in order to make next smart moves and go after those same off-market properties, and we need the economic leverage at that point to carry it out. So bottom line is, in that as far as number two is concerned, is that don't go putting your mortgage payment up. Okay. Some investing comes with some degree of risk, but fortunately within real estate itself, it's one of the safest markets to be a passive investor as well, without actually holding the property. um, so and if some people question, like, okay, 8% on $100, and what's the return of that in a year? I get it, I understand. But if I had to compel you to understand what that 8% really means, is that go look at how much money you get from your bank currently based on the accounts that you have with them. Um, I think 0.002. I hadn't checked today's rates, but I mean, there's a decimal and a zero in front of it. That's a lot lower than the one that you see up in front here. So if you need added context to that, so now your bank's not giving you any money, right? So the number four speaks to the fact that in 401k land, for those of us that have worked a job that has a 401k investment plan, um, you can only commit so much money to the portfolio at a time. You can, and this is the same case too, but you'd have to work so much in order to make up for what this portfolio is going to do. See, with the nature of property not going anywhere, the more that we acquire in terms of the equity building initiative within UPC itself, the bigger the portfolio is. So the that means the higher return on your investment. So that's why, like, we're not stopping here. The next goal is, to go after another multifamily property, rehab it, put it back together. So it serves multiple purposes. We build a portfolio that you invest in through crowdfunding, and we improve the community, and we can command a higher dollar amount. And not only that, we change the market, and we have absolute equity in that situation. So that's where I want to start at with that. Let's see. And most importantly, we are registered with the SEC. For those that don't know, that is not Southeastern Conference football. Roll Tide. And I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. And then the other part of it is that this is registered with the SEC, which means the feds are watching us. This is the Securities Exchange Commission. Okay. So we have all the right paperwork and structure and that we need, so to make our supporters and contributors to this process more reassured, there will be more paperwork coming out in an email blast that gives you the attachments that you need to see in order to read and study and then form more questions that we can answer along the way too. So let's see here. And then the other thing too is trust. You got to believe that we want to be just as successful as you hope to become someday. We want to build a culturally responsible community, So Dr. Claude Anderson, I'm pretty sure everybody that's listening has either heard his name or watched the video or whatever. But one of the things he said in a video, I think it might have been about 7 or 8 years ago, is that you got neighbors right now. A community is a neighborhood of people that spend money with each other and that support each other, and because we are just now getting to the point in time where we're circulating the black dollar, supporting black businesses, and creating the spirit of trust around that, we're just now understanding that this is what real community looks like. And so what comes with that is a level of cultural responsibility that we have to insulate our black businesses from being pilfered by outside forces that don't want to see our businesses succeed. That's one thing I like about where I live in this area, is because you cannot throw a rock without hitting somebody that owns something that is looking to build their own brand without tearing somebody else's down. And I don't know what industries are out there that people feel unsupported in, but one thing about investing in real estate, you don't have to care who supports you or not. Once you own the territory, you can plant your flag, and then people and people so people have to understand this, and that you got to start with your own territory first. So the next thing we're going to do right here, I'm about to flip a slide or two, is see what we got up here next. So if you got any more questions, leave it in the comments, and I'll see it after the live feed, because I'm trying to check the scroll as it is now. So the next thing we're going to bring up is our partners and what our structure looks like. So I'm being my own producer right now, so y'all work with me while I got my screen up. I appreciate everybody checking in and everything. So, yeah. Regiis over here texting me right now. You need to be online with me, Regiis, but it's all good. So, um, we got our community partners up here. Take a second to see what's going on. And, you know, I'm just going to keep going. Some people are saying that they can't see what's going on. I hate that that's the case. But if I mess around and get too wrapped up, I'll miss the opportunity to speak more about it. Again, that's what we'll use the comments for vetting and stuff. So I'm not understanding why it's not working. But we're gonna keep going. Let's see. So we have a website that'll be live at the end of this month, on 29th February, and the other part of it is, you know, when we mention, I'm gonna mention equity a lot tonight. While the time I have, with the time that I have, because again, going after equity properties with and having a robust investment portfolio creates an opportunity for people that are trying to get out of their homes that have mortgages, that also have you know what I'm saying, some equity. So like if you're trying to get from underneath your mortgage, that might be an option for you too, and you can use UPC to do it. We'll have more details on that as those situations come up. We have access to real estate attorneys and things of that nature. So, and other things to ensure that process. Let's see here. Another thing we're going to talk about is Airbnb and why you should do it. So I'm going to pause right here for a second and then try to fix this video issue. Thanks. Nope, that's not gonna work. So, all right. So we also want to talk about, you know, Airbnb and why you should do it. So my personal experience with Airbnb to this point is that it's become a lot more advantageous to me as a property owner that doesn't have a whole workforce to deal with significant damage all at one time. Every time I have a tenant that things just doesn't work out as a private renter. So for me as a private owner, Airbnb has been an incentive and a life-saving vehicle for me. Let's see. Let me talk about some other partners as I go. There's a flyer for our next upcoming event for 21 March, so you can study that while I talk about this Airbnb thing. So Airbnb, in my personal experience, has created a different way that I see to earn income out of my properties. And one of those things is I have lowered the liability of having to deal with tenants that, you know, going to give me an issue at some point, and are going to have some type of liability. So I have had a great experience with it, and I've made far more money, you know, than I thought I would per unit. I've made almost triple the amount of money per month out of one unit that I would if I had just a regular long-term tenant. Hang on a second. What's up? You gonna go out? Sorry about that. So, yeah, you gotta let the dog out, right? So, it literally cost me about $5,000 per unit to furnish it, get it set up to have long-term tenants. Excuse me, the short-term tenants, and they use the Airbnb app to book the place just like they would a hotel. The other thing is too is that Airbnb comes with $1 million worth of insurance per guest per stay, so you're covered. And we've already had an uptick in you know, people gaining interest in Airbnb. And one of my things that I plan to do is put other owners on that are private owners like me that don't have a whole lot of extra resources to deal with a mishap to put them on to how this works. So let's see if I got any questions over here. Yeah, it looked like a bunch of them. Hang on. Let's see here. What we got? Any questions at this point? Somebody tagged my cousin Andrew Davis. Yeah, so let's see. Who's all in here? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and change a couple screens, and so you guys can see what else is going on with UPC. So you already saw that, and then we're gonna have Calvin Richardson at the end of that block party that we're gonna throw. You're gonna get Calvin Richardson. It's our crowdfund lunch party, and we want to make sure that we come out the right way and represent the community and show that we can put together events such as what we're working on right now, and show the community that we're invested and we're here, and we want for the community what everybody else complains the community it doesn't have. So come on out. The tickets are gonna be they're already going on sale right now. Let me see. Let me get a confirmation on prices. I know we had it in flux, but I'll let you know in a second. Regis, what them ticket prices at? So we've been, trying to make it as advantageous as we can to everybody that can come out and have a good time. Gonna put on a good show. My wife can't wait to see him. I don't know how I feel about that yet, but we're gonna work through it. So for those of you that can't see the screen changing, trust me, it's recording over here, and when it goes out, it'll be you'll be able to see the whole video and interact with it. I actually do a watch party with it, and I'm just gonna put it up, as a raw video. Not gonna do much editing, and that way we can get the message out. It's gonna get prettier as we go. We're just still figuring this out, and it's the first time I've been live in a while. So, you guys help me get better, and you help us get better. First and foremost, if you're not, if you still got questions, you can inbox us, and we can get to it and let you know. Regiis dropped the ticket prices in the chat, and so yeah, pre-sale ticket prices, bingo. Yeah, I just needed to say it. So that's him texting you right now too. So that's how authentic and raw that this is. So let me see here what we got next on the agenda. Nah. Hey, Regis, see, this is the thing. When I start talking, the news feed, the comment feed doesn't scroll, so I have to stop and go check, and it's awkward when I pause. So I just want to keep it as I want y'all to see what I'm dealing with as much as I can, and but I'm here to get the message out, and so as of right now, $45 on the pre-sale for Calvin Richardson, and we have a Black History Month special, and it's 20 tickets left at $30 a piece. So, at your earliest convenience, get with us, inbox us on how to get those tickets into your inbox, and the rest will be going live on Eventbrite soon. Let's see here. I'm gonna move on to something else, and then I'm gonna stop talking in a minute and then open the floor for questions. I'm just gonna control the feed at that point. Okay, so this property right here that we got listed up is the West Adams Initiative. This is a property that's located in Temple, Texas, and we plan to build a mixed-use venue, a couple of them actually. But on this one, that open space you see in the left corner of the picture is going to have a structure where we can host food trucks, fun days in the park, and we can market for bigger weddings. And it's going to be a nice wedding venue. And I've already changed the name to West Adams Manor. I feel like Manor pretty sexy, so for what we're gonna do. It is a 2-acre property situated on West Adams Avenue in Temple, Texas, less than 3 miles from I-35. There's a couple of golf courses in the area. It has a ton of tree cover that provides great camera shots for photographers and great backdrop for a wedding. Let's see a little bit more on this right here. This is one of our main pieces in the portfolio that's going to leverage. That's going to give us the leverage we need to go after more off-market real estate to build a portfolio. So let's see here. That's another shot of it, and the area to the right of where the vehicles are parked, that you see towards the top of the screen, that's also part of the property as well. That's actually like the half split line for it. So everything you see in the front, on the left of that line, between the curb and the back of the house, is double that on the other side as well. So let's see here what we got. A couple other area shots. So I'm gonna give you guys a second to study the investment breakdown, so you can get familiar with that. So I gotta go let the dog back in because she's upset, and I'll be right back. All right, the dog is back in. She'll probably come visit in a second. I'm just leaving the door open because she's a little needy on that. So let's talk about the. Let's see here. Let's talk about the investment breakdown. I had to pull it up on my phone so I get a better view of it. The shares are pretty much self-explanatory, and what we're after in order to get started. I think, hey, shout out to Ashley for breaking this stuff down so it can be as digestible as possible. So the holding, I've already talked about that. Even though this one needs to be updated on the graphic, I put the wrong one up there. It's 12 months, not the 24. We'll come back to that. And matter of fact, I already edited in the caption. I'm not sure how that got caught in there. And let's see here. Yeah, all legal agents are available for inquiries. However, remember to manage your own risk. Investing is just all comes with a risk. Remember I said don't put your house note on this if you can't pay it next month. So it's just about being responsible. I mean, so you wouldn't overpay your water bill unnecessarily if it meant you not eating right. So I think the crowdfunding piece has been touched on, and the returns is most important probably for a lot of you guys. So we are trying to do something in Killeen that has never been done, and that is raise $1 million from crowdfunding. We don't know unless we give it a try to do so, and I've never heard anybody say let's do it in Killeen. But I think that our structure and what we have available to us as a resource, the equity in the portfolio, is enough to give the invitation for you to join with us, so you don't get mad when you drive past and say I missed an opportunity. Picture this being a great stock to join from the ground floor, and you get to watch it grow because again, our shares are backed by property and equity. So a few things that you can bet doesn't change in a decreased direction. Liabilities, insurance, taxes, and the ability to afford a mortgage. None of those things become, they don't go down. So in order to afford a mortgage, depending on what type of property you have, You gotta, you gotta be postured the right way. You gotta structure and things like that. And that's what UPC is. It's a structure that that holds the fort down when it comes down to retaining its value and having no ceiling in terms of how much it can grow. So move on to another slide. Let's see what we got. Oh, just so happens that I come up next. Yep, I look the same as my book cover, at least one of my book covers. So in the back, you see the code. That is my book, my first book that I published in 2018. It became a bestseller on Amazon, and much like my second book, it was new to a lot of people, and it worked. And so what I was trying to do um, was establish, a code of ethics pretty much among us, because I saw a lot of chatter during the time frame when I wrote that book that said, black people don't have a code, and I disagree with that because I live by one, and like most people do. So I took the opportunity to, you know, write a book that gave us a structure to like reflect on, and actually reference, because after you've been informed you can't say you didn't know. I get, like, you can't you can't imagine what something you've never seen. So the sorry, one of my Airbnb guests is getting at me right now and asking me, do I have a Netflix password? No, I don't. You need your own Netflix account. Paul, hey, look, I can't talk and text at the same time. Hang on. On Netflix. All right. Okay, so goes to show you that you can provide a space, and it still can never be enough for some people. So that was a reality. So yeah, with the code, I function, by that doctrine that I wrote, and that was for me. I'm not telling other people how they need to move, but like, if you don't find a way to repurpose your anger, you're gonna miss a lot of opportunities, and you're gonna create obstacles in place of those opportunities. Um, so a lot of the times, if you put the obstacle in front of you, you don't have anybody else to blame, but you don't know, how you got to that point and why you were thinking the way that you were, that, enabled you to, hinder yourself pretty much. So that my book was just a path to a solidarity among reasonable black people, because the platform here is investing in reason. I believe that anything you give your energy to is what you believe in, and that's what you invest in. So if you find yourself angry and upset more times than smiling and welcoming to others, it's because you've thoroughly invested in your anger versus investing in a solution. Like, the desire to react should never be greater than the desire to resolve. So that was the voice that I wrote my first book in. Crude cover. I wanted it to be cryptic. I wanted it to be, a conversation starter, and I wanted it to be an easy read. So it's about 103 pages of, the mind of myself and how I think. My next book that's up here is most recent. I published last week, is The Business of Me. It's kind of an introspective prequel to the code. So a lot of times people know about rules, but they don't know about who wrote the rules. And so people usually ask that question about who wrote the rules in order to discredit the author and the point in doing so. Well, I kind of preempted that and decided to go and write about myself and bear as much of myself that made sense to display. So I'm gonna come back and talk about that in a second, because my other dog is ready to come back in. All right. What was that? Business me. Okay, so the business of me was me giving myself up. You know, want to give as much of an insight to who I am, why I function the way that I do, and um, I wanted to give a little bit more context to the author of the first book, which is the code. And the links to both of these books are available on Amazon. And if you scroll up and look in the captions, you'll see them. So I wanted to um, find a way to deal with my own anger and unresolved conflicts associated with the untimely death of my father, who died December 23rd of 2018. Um, 2018, which is not long after I published my first book. So here I am celebrating the release of a book, and then a couple of months after that, my father dies unexpectedly. Um, in in that time when I was trying to collect myself, you know what I'm saying, because I was the oldest son, and trying to get my understanding to to assign the value of his life to mine. I had some moments of resentment. You know, I like anything, nothing different than anybody else has gone through with the death of a parent, I'm sure. Um, so since I couldn't talk to him anymore and get the answers I wanted, or have the conversations that I felt like I needed to have with him, associated with his death, I chose to write about it, and that was my therapy. Among um, other things that that I deal with, and like when you turn 40 and 41, you start looking back at your life and figure out, you know, there's some things I had questions about, but didn't know how to begin a conversation to even lead to the question. So I never got a chance to try to do those things with my own dad, and so I took the opportunity to write about it and go through all of my ups and downs and emotions, and talk about where it led me, and how I got to this point where I'm at right now, sitting in front of you. And I also wanted people to know that it's okay to feel the way that you feel, even if it's at times where you having your low moments. What you can't do is invest in staying in the low moment. You have to create a path out, and you have to do that yourself. And I thoroughly believe that life is more important when you have people that depend on you and you show up. So I couldn't let my personal insecurities about my dad's death keep me from upholding what I have to do while I'm alive here. So I dealt with that, and then produced a book, and it was my therapy. And I want to share my therapy with the world, because I feel like uh, your story has more value when it's discussed by other people. You want to be remembered, and you want your legacy to be one that's assigned to help other people. And I think we all have that power. I think we all have that responsibility when we are culturally sure of ourselves. And for instance, the stories that were told to bring us up to speed on where we are right now, whether or not they began on all of the facts or left the details out, the story was good enough for you to go do some research for yourself to find out you and who you are. So that's what the business of me is. It's an invitation for you to explore yourself to the depth that's required, and if it pushes you to write a story or tell it to somebody else that it may save their life, or provide more context for what they're going through and why, or so they can get a chance to reassign the value for their own pain and own uncertainties, why not? So life is about living long enough to be able to help other people. So that's enough about me. I'm gonna go slide over to the comments and find out, what questions you have, and I'm gonna give it a few minutes. I apologize for some people that probably can't see the screen move, but right now I think the slideshow is working pretty well for my end, and I'm gonna leave it right here. And I probably should put a question slide in there for the next time, so we can open the floor up. But as of right now, What are your questions? Um, and I hope I explained everything. Hey, if there's no questions, that means, you know, we got some super smart people about their finances and they know that we're not selling a dream. So I'm going to ask in the comments also. So um, I don't have much else to add. We're going to start doing this a lot more often. Shout out to Ashley Nicole, who is our marketing genius, who has set us up for success with filtering information at the right times, taking things off of our plate, and putting things on our plate for me and Regiis too. Um, Things that make us work a little bit harder to be more concise and provide the right information to the people that we need participation from the most, which is you. So the presentation you're getting right now for me is just my organic way of just trying to get it out there because I know people need to see a face that that represents um, something of integrity and positivity, and that's what I try to walk around it with every day, with every opportunity I get. So we're gonna have a couple of other investment opportunities, like the soccer stadium that's being built in Austin. We're trying to get a hand in that and create an early bird special investor opportunity. With that, we want other businesses in the Killeen area to take a chance and grow their business by doing it with us. Um, and we want to be the organization that backs you all the way to your forward goal of success. And let's see, we're gonna have we're trying to develop pockets of organizations like this underneath the UPC banner. So if you got a portfolio and you want to help us grow and be part of the of this economic and residential and commercial revolution, here's your opportunity also. So drop all your inquiries to us as well. We're looking for leadership, in other areas. We're solid here, but we definitely won't overlook anybody that has something to contribute that can add value to the whole movement. So I don't want to talk you guys' head off because I'm pretty excited about this, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I'm glad that I'm here and postured and structured to be able to go after it myself. So without further ado, that's been a great episode of Code Talk by all accounts. In terms of what I did, what I had to do to get this thing out. I appreciate the patience. I appreciate the dialogue, the messages, the emails, the multiple band accounts that I have. Hey man, free Mr. Rents. Leave my old profile alone. Let my old profile out. Facebook, y'all be tripping, man. I just want to have a little fun. That's it. More to come. Stay with us, and thank you for joining the UPC movement, and I'll see you later.